ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। 99th class today. वासुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं
वासुदेवेन्द्र योगीन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधो विधीयते।
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधो विधीयते।
ननु साहंकारस्य किंचित् जीवस्य निरहंकारस्य सर्वज्ञस्य ईश्वरस्य तत्त्वमसीति महावाक्यात् कथम् अभेदबुद्धिः स्यात्। उभयोः विरुद्धधर्माक्रान्तत्वात् इति चेत् स्थूल सूक्ष्म शरीर अभिमानी त्वं पद वाच्यार्थः उपाधि विनिर्मुक्तं दशा समाधि दशा संपन्नम् शुद्धं चैतन्यं
शुद्धं चैतन्यं
त्वं पदलक्ष्यार्थः
त्वं पदलक्ष्यार्थः
एवं
एवं
सर्वज्ञत्वादिविशिष्टः ईश्वरः
सर्वज्ञत्वादिविशिष्टः ईश्वरः
तत्पदवाच्यार्थः
तत्पदवाच्यार्थः
उपाधिशून्यम्
उपाधिशून्यं
शुद्धं चैतन्यम्
शुद्धं चैतन्यं
तत्पदलक्ष्यार्थः
तत्पदलक्ष्यार्थः
एवं च
एवं च
जीवेश्वरयोः
जीवेश्वरयोः
चैतन्यरूपेण
चैतन्यरूपेण
अभेदे बाधक अभावः
अभेदे बाधक अभावः
शरीरत्रय अभिमानी चैतन्यं त्वं पदवाच्यार्थः स्थूल सूक्ष्म शरीर अभिमानी चैतन्यम् The Mahavakya Tat Tvam Asi. Shishya raised a question. Tat Tvam Asi. And Guru said, you are that. How can I be that? That referring to Ishvara, Jagat Karanam, Brahma. Therefore, the Mahavakya has to be explained. That in fact, the objection what the Shishya raised is nothing but the explanation sought by the Shishya for the Mahavakya. He wants Mahavakya to be interpreted briefly, and Guru had done that. Tat tvam asi iti padatrayam asti vakye. It is Mahavakyam. The name is Mahavakyam. But how many padams are there in the Vakya? Only 3. Tat tvam asi. Only 3. Among the 3 padams, 2 are Nama padam. 1 is Kriya padam. Asi. As being asdhatu, budhatu. In fact, it is budhatu. Being doesn't have any kriya. Karoti, kadati, gacchati, patati, dhavati. All these are kriya padam. Asi is also kriya padam, but the kriya is not. It's not like the kriya in the other padams, other kriya padam. There is no action involved. Here it is in the sense of being, the existence. Asi. So tvam asi. Tum kada asi. Always. There is no time you are not that. How can it be? The Stula Shariram comes and goes, Sukshma Shariram comes and goes. How can I be always there? Only when Sukshma Shariram is intact with Stula Shariram, I am alive. When Stula Shariram departs, separates from these, when the Sukshma Shariram separates from the Stula Shariram, death of what? That is the death of the body, not death of you. But we don't think like that in the beginning. Because we have Abhimana with Stula Shariram. And Abhimana with Sukshma Shariram also is there when there is Abhimana with the Stula Shariram. Sukshma Shariram Abhimana is, how do we say that? You have got Buddhi, all the Indriyas function. All these are parts of the Sukshma Shariram. Saptadasha Kalabhihi Yatu Tishtati Tatu Sukshma Shariram. So you know what your mind thinks, you know what you decide, what all the emotions you entertain. They all belong to Sukshma Shariram. So there is Abhimana with the Sukshma Shariram. when the Sukshma Shariram is intact with Sthula Shariram. Therefore, you are alive when you are alive. Therefore, the word Tvam in the Mahavakya, Tat Tvam Asi, you are that. Acharya explained very clearly. The you here, the Mahavakya, the simple Vakya, Mahavakya, Padatrayam, as I told, where Asdhatu in the sense of being the existence, you as existence, and you are not a Jada, you have sentiency. Therefore, you refers to this Chaitanyam, which has got Abhimana with Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram. When it has got Abhimana with the Sthula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, then somehow this I, the Ahankara comes. Ahankara is small I. Atma is bigger I. I am so and so, that is Ahankara. You stop with I am, that is Atma. I am. I am. Am is consciousness. I is always there. Agam, Asmi. So this Ahankara with limited knowledge, everything limited, when there is association in terms of this Abhimana. Abhimana is called association. In fact, what can be associated with Atma? Atma is, it is Asangaha. It cannot have association. That which cannot be associated or that which cannot have association seems to be associated. This Maya, that is Mithya. So therefore, that Tattvabodha Asi, when the Shishya listens to the Upadesha of the Guru, that out comes that Tvam, what we generally use or refer to as limited self, the Ahankara, that is the immediate meaning of Vachyartha. All the limitations, they are centered on this small I, Ahankara. That is the immediate meaning of the word Tvam, Tvam-pada, Nama-padam in the Mahavakya, Tattvabodha Asi. Vachyartha is immediate meaning. That meaning without analysis, without vichara, what you understand, that is immediate meaning. Vachyartha. Because when you say I am, but I referring to what? The Ahankara only. You don't refer I, you don't say I with the Abhima, with the knowledge, Chaitanyam. With that knowledge, that Advaitam, Advaita Jnanam is there. When Advaita Jnanam is there, that Aham Chaitanyam, Shuddha Chaitanyam, I alone is there in the form of everything. There is nothing other than me. Then the transaction, the Vyavahara in the world, not that Vyavahara will stop, because Shariram is there which has come because of Prarabdha, it will continue. But the Vyavahara will not create any dent on you, any problem for you. The Vyavahara will be a Leela. That which was troublesome, now it becomes a play. When you understand, when you have this knowledge. Therefore, all the worldly transaction, what we do is because of the Abhimana Vritti, because of the Abhimana Vritti, Stula, Sukshma, Karna, Shariram. With the with the limited understanding of oneself, of this I. That is how we perform, we do activities in the world. The Vyavahara happens. Without that, Vyavahara also. Vyavahara, where is Vyavahara? For an Ajnani. Ajnani has got a lot of Vyavahara, the activities, because the I associated with this limited body, mind, senses. Physical body, subtle body, causal body. That is the immediate meaning of the word I, Vachyartha. If you take the immediate meaning, then there is Veda between Tvam and Tat. The immediate meaning of the Tat is Ishvara, Bhagavan, who is Jagat Karanam, Brahma. And he is Nirahankaraha, he is Sarvajnaha, Ishvaraha. If you take the immediate meaning, Vachyartha Drishtya Vedaha Asti Eva. Nobody can say there is no difference. Abheda Buddhihi Katam Syat, that is valid if you take the immediate meaning. Because the difference between you and Ishvara is obvious. Because it is there, therefore only Vyavahara, the difference is there. And also there are opposite attributes. What Shastram says is, this difference, what you think to be real, really it is not. There is no real difference. How Shastram unfolds the knowledge that the difference between Tvam and Tat, between Jiva and Ishvara, between Jivatma and Paramatma, the difference is seemingly real, not really real. Seemingly real, therefore Vyavahara. Vyavaharika Drishtya Vedaha Asti, but Paramarthika Drishtya Vedaha. That we saw explained in detail in the previous classes. How this difference is there, at the same time difference is not there. Difference is there when you take the meaning, of the word Tat and Tvam, the immediate meaning of the word Tat and Tvam, when you take, difference is there. But when you take the implied meaning, Lakshyartha, then there is no difference, Abhedaha Syat. Therefore, your Swarupam is Chaitanya, that is Lakshyartha. Ishwarasya Swarupamapi Shuddham Chaitanyam. Upade Vinirmuktam Samari Dashasampannam Shuddham Chaitanyam Tumpada Lakshyartaha Tadvateva Shuddham Chaitanyam Tatpada Lakshyartaha. Therefore, no difference. Abheda. Veda is there in Vachyartha. Abheda is a truth when you take Lakshyartha. In fact, it is a truth. Paramarthika Drishtya, absolute standpoint. The reality is Abheda. Therefore, only na Bedaha, na Dvaitam, Advaitam we say. So, if you have Veda Drishti, then you will take the Vachyartha. In the beginning, you will have Veda Drishti. Therefore, only teaching is required. Abheda Drishti, when you bring in Abheda Drishti, as taught by, as unfolded by the Shastram, as taught by the Guru, then you will start analyzing the Mahavakya and arrive at a Lakshyartha, because your intention is to know the Abheda. But Abheda Jnanam only is liberating Jnanam. Abheda Jnanam eva Advaita Jnanam. Advaita Jnanam only releases you from the problems of samsara. Why you want to have this Abheda Drishti? Why you want to have this Advaita Jnanam? That Lakshyartha Jnanam of the Tat and Tvam Padam. Why you want? Because you are Moksha, you want to be free from the troubles of samsara. Where Veda is, samsara is inevitable. Where Abheda is, then samsara, being there, it becomes a play, it becomes a leela. That is a leela, Krishna leela. If you observe the image of Krishna, you can see, compare the difference between Rama Avatara and Krishna Avatara. Rama is an incarnation of Dharma Avatara. Whereas Krishna is a Leela Avatara. He will not stand straight. His body, if you see, it is bent at three location. It is bent, it is not in a straight line. Leela. For him, this is a Leela. So that is what Krishna Avatara unfolds, the Leela. Everything is Leela. The whole Yuddha, the Mahabharata was a Leela for him. As a Sakshi, he was just present, witnessing the war between the Pandava and the Kaurava. How can it be possible unless he remains as a witness, as a Sakshi? In spite of the kith and kin being killed, that those people are not only related to Arjuna, they are related to Krishna also. Krishna, he had high regards for Bhishma, Drona, etc. But he himself became a nimitta because in that's a leela. He has this abheda drishti, jnani, Ishvaraha, Parameshwaraha. Therefore, where abheda buddhi is there, where advaita jnanam is there, then the person becomes free mukta purushaha. That person is mukta purushaha who enjoys this abheda jnanam. So therefore, the author says, do the vichara of this Tvam and Tattvabodha. Simple two padam only. The analysis of two padam will unfold the non-difference. Therefore, upadi vinirmuktam shuddham chaitanyam Tvam. Without any upadi, shuddham chaitanyam. When you say, I am of limited knowledge, kinchit jnaha. In Vyavahara, we say, I am limited, I have got limited knowledge. It means you are looking upon yourself from the standpoint of buddhi. Buddhi is you. That is how you think. The attributes of buddhi, the limitations of buddhi are superimposed on you, and whatever buddhi, the knowledge buddhi has, that you think that is my knowledge and limited knowledge. So the buddhi is sukshma shariram, therefore sukshma sharira abhimani. Therefore only the author says sukshma sharira abhimani. That buddhi which has got limited knowledge, what you enjoy, it is known to you. So that is from the standpoint of sukshma shariram. Similarly, with regard to the stula shariram, you have got strong abhimana. These are all what? These are all upadi. From the standpoint of upadi, the atma, the shuddham chaitanyam, the purna atma seems to be parichinna atma. All the attributes dharma, they belong to the upadi. It is not the dharma of the vastu, the atma. It is upadi dharma, not the dharma of atma. If the dharma of the upadi, and if the dharma of the upadi is the dharma of the vastu, then it's a problem. Then atma also will become limited. So Remember the example given in the last class, the crystal, which is a upadhi. The crystal, which is the flower, the red hibiscus, placed near the crystal. The red flower is upadhi. Crystal being colorless appears to be red because of the upadhi. So crystal always in its svarupam, colorless only, appears to have different colors because of the proximity of an object. That is upadhi. When that is removed, upadhi vinirmuktam, free from the upadhi. The upadhi is variable, it comes and goes. It is mithya, comes and goes. It can be given up. But crystal remains as it is, colorless. The color which appears in the crystal because of the agantuka upadhi, upadhi comes and goes, that is mithya. Similarly, I am of limited knowledge, I am limited, this kinchit nyatvam, it is not an attribute of Atma. Like crystal Atma being there, the kinchit nyatvam, the limitedness is superimposed on Atma. It is not an attribute of Atma. Kinchit nyatvam is an attribute of Buddhi. Like the flower placed near the crystal, when there is an association of Buddhi with the Atma, then Kinchit nyatvam walks in. Kinchit nyatvam is an attribute of the Upadhi Buddhi. Buddhehe Upadhi, Atmanaha Upadhi na bhavati. How can the attribute of Buddhehe dharma, not Upadhi, Buddhehe dharma, katam Atmanaha dharmaha bhavati. Buddhehe dharmaha katam Atmanaha dharmaha bhavati. It is the dharma of the Upadhi, Buddhi Upadhi. It cannot be the dharma of the Atma. Atma doesn't have any attribute. Suppose if this kinchit nyatvam is the dharma of Atma, then Atma is limited. That dharma Atma cannot give up. But Atma doesn't have any attribute, doesn't have any dharma. How you say? What happens in sleep, deep sleep, sushupti avastha, or in samadhi avastha? You don't have this kinchit nyatvam. You enjoy deep sleep. You don't have this kinchit nyatvam. Kinchit nyaha, aham kinchit nyaha, that I am of limited knowledge. It is not there. But when you wake up, that kinchit nyaha comes. Therefore, it is variable. Comes and goes, variable. When you are happy, when the subject-object relationship resolves in the moments of happiness, you don't see yourself as a kinchit nyaha, limited person. You don't have any complex with regard to the limited knowledge. When you are happy, when the moments of happiness, there is no the kinchit nyatvam. In the moment of happiness, you don't judge yourself. You don't judge, and there is no self-conclusion. When you listen to the music, or when you enjoy a beautiful scenery, or when you are absorbed in some action, some activity, you are interested in your painting, whatever it may be, there you don't have this kinchit nyatvam. It is temporarily resolved. Similarly, in samadhi dasha sampannam, in the samadhi, when you're absorbed in the object of meditation, there also kinchit nyatvam resolves. Samadhi dasha sampannam. Samadhi is samadhanam, chitta samadhanam. There you are completely absorbed in the object of meditation. When you are absorbed in the object of meditation, where it is kinchit nyatvam, the status of being limited, knowledge. Kinchit Nyatu, not only in terms of knowledge, in terms of power, in terms of everything. Alpa Shakti Matvam, where is this? This is not always, it is a, it disappears in moments of happiness, in the state of samadhi. Therefore, it is agama painaha, it comes and goes. That which comes and goes cannot be you. It is mithya. Even when you meditate, when you do upasana, when you do meditation, you are entertaining, yes, a specific, or you are regulating your thought. You are entertaining a particular pattern, particular series of thought, particular pattern of thoughts. Suppose you are meditating on your Ishta Devata. So your mind is focused only on the Ishta Devata, Upasana. So whenever the mind goes out, you bring it back and place it on the Upasana Murti. From the Pada to the head, you focus, you go up and down, you do Upasana. There are a series of thoughts. There are a series of thoughts. If your mind is focused on Upasana Murti, then only on the Upasana Murti, it is a good focus. It's a good meditation. In spite of that, mind goes here and there. So, between two thoughts, between two thoughts, two consecutive thoughts, there is a vritti. Vritti meaning thought, between two thoughts. This you may not be able to observe when you do upasana, but when you do meditation on, when you do Vedantic meditation, there you observe what you are. Whatever is Atma. Atma is Aham Atma, Aham Purnaha, Aham Nityaha, Aham Avyayaha. That is one. That is a thought. So that Atma Avyayaha, one thought. That is, you think on the Swarupam of yourself. That is one thought. The next thought, again, you think that my Swarupam is Avyaya, Nityaha, iti. These two thoughts, it is not continuous. In between the two thoughts, there is another thought. There is a gap. Like when you watch the TV, the TV, the motion picture, the movement seems to be continuous, but really it is not continuous. Our eyes have got the persistence of vision. Our eyes can retain the image for 1/8 of a second, because of which what happens, the screen seems to be stationary. Therefore, only you are able to enjoy the movie, watch the movie. Otherwise, you will see a series. It goes frame by frame. It goes frame by frame. Because our eyes have got the persistence of vision, therefore, you see it has a continuous series picture. You don't see the distinct difference between one frame and the next frame. Similarly, in the meditation, between the two thoughts, there is a thoughtless state. There is a thoughtless state. That's called Shanta Vritti. That is called Shanta Vritti. So whether you do Upasana or whether you do Vedantic meditation, that Shanta Vritti, Vedantic meditation, deliberately you are thinking about your Swarupam. That is Vedantic meditation. Upasana, you have an Upasana Murti, an image. So in between, so what I'm saying is in between the two thoughts, there's something called the thought which doesn't have any object. Thought, that is objectless thought. That's called Shanta Vritti. A thought, a vritti must have an object. A vritti, in the waking state, it is very obvious, it is clear. We see a thought as an object. When you do meditation, what is meditation? Deliberately entertaining certain thoughts. That is called meditation. The vyavahara, you don't deliberately entertain. Thoughts comes and goes. A series of thoughts and comes and goes, and you don't watch the thoughts also. Sometimes you talk to yourself, mental chattering, all these things happen in the waking state. If you are not alert, all these things will happen. Therefore, one has to watch, one has to be alert. What comes, what enters, and what goes. But in meditation, you deliberately entertain certain thoughts. The deliberation, that is important. That is why it's called meditation. So in the meditation, you deliberately, when you entertain certain thoughts, between the two thoughts, there is a thoughtless, there is an objectless, not thoughtless, there is an objectless, because every vritti has got an object. Between, and the thoughts are, and the thoughts are continuous, and they are not really continuous. In between the two thoughts, there is an objectless thought. That is called Shanta vritti. There is no subject-object relationship. When you have a thought, when you entertain a thought, deliberate entertainment of a thought, there you are the subject, and the object of thought is the subject-object relationship is there. And the next thought, there is subject and object relationship. And the next thought, there is subject-object relationship. What about the thought in between the two thoughts? There, object not there. Only you alone is there. When you alone is there, what is a judgment about you? What is a judgment about you? There is no self-judgment. But that time is so small, the time is so small, you cannot recognize that. That is what the meditator, what they do is they attempt to expand that moment, expand that Shanta vritti. That Shanta vritti, that objectless thought, that an object, when there is no object means what you alone is there. That is what the meditators, that is what the samadhi, people want to have samadhi, enjoy samadhi, they deliberately attempt. It's called meditation. By meditation, by being alert, they expand that the gap. When the gap is expanded, when expanded for a certain length of time, then it becomes dharanam. Dhyana dharanam samadhi iti. Finally, it ends up in samadhi. There is no object. You alone is present. Nirvikalpa samadhi, no vikalpa. So that is called samadhi dasha sampannam. There is no limit in that state. Since there are no objects, no variables, no upadhi, therefore no variables. Where is kinchit gyatvam? There is no kinchit gyatvam. There is no sense of limited knowledge. There is no sense of limited power. So therefore, when you don't think of your limitations, therefore these are all what? These are all variables. When these are variables, how can you be this? Only when you wake up to the waking state, look at the object, then only you become a subject, and there is a subject-object relationship, and there only this awareness of limited knowledge, everything comes. There only in the waking state, only the transaction only you recognize yourself to be not you recognize, that is not yourself. You think yourself to be a limited person, forgetting to appreciate, recognize yourself as a person without limitation, what you enjoyed in Samadhi Dasha. So therefore, this Kinchit Gyatvam is variable. It is not intrinsic. It is agantukam. not swabhavikam, not your nature. If it is your nature, if it is swabhavikam, then you must have this kinchit nyatvam. Kinchit nyatvam is one upadhi which we take as an example. It's an upadhi dharma. One example we are taking. What upadhi? Buddhi. Buddhehe upadhi. Buddhi is upadhi. Buddhehe dharma. Buddhi is an upadhi. The dharma of the buddhi, that is knowledge, kinchit nyatvam, that we take as an example. This can be extended to everything. All the upadhi dharma. All the upadhis we can take, and therefore all the upadhi dharma we can take. So if this kinchit nyatvam is intrinsic, swabhavikam to Atma, then you must have this kinchit nyatvam all the time. But it is not there. In sleep, it is not there. In meditation, it is not there. In samadhi state, it is not there. So therefore, it are variable. They come and go. What about you? You are the only thing like the crystal, non-variable, invariable. Therefore, only upadhi vinirmuktam samadhi dasha sampannam. In the Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga, Ashta Anga, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, Samadhi. The 8 steps are there. It's called Ashta Anga, 8 limbs. Yoga Shastram, the Yoga Darshana talks about this. There are Ashta 8 limbs, and talks about Samadhi, 2 types of Samadhi, Savikalpa, Nirvikalpa. These are what it is. Samadhi is just means absorption only. Samadhi is Chitta Samadhanam, absorption. Absorption means what? Absorption means your mind is withdrawn, the sense organs are withdrawn from a particular Vishaya and focus on a certain object or Vishaya. That's called absorption. In the general state, in the waking state, in the Vyavahara, the waking state, when you do Vyavahara, there is subject-object relationship. When you absorb the subject in meditation and focus the subject on a particular object of meditation, there is no distraction. There is focus only on the particular object, the object of meditation, and you are absorbed in that. That is called savikalpa, division. That is, division is the subject object, but this division is between you, the subject, and a particular object which you deliberately entertain, and you are absorbed in that. That is called savikalpa samadhi. It's called savikalpa samadhi. Deliberately, you focus on a particular object of meditation. There's a deliberate attempt is there. Deliberate attempt means withdrawing the sense organs of the external world. Buddhi indriyani adyaha, you have to withdraw. Then focus the mind on a particular object, and over a period of time you get absorbed in that, and there is a subject-object relationship is there, but there is only one object. In the Vyavahara, there are many objects. You get carried over by so many objects. But in the Savikalpa Samadhi, you and the object, nothing else is there. Only one object of meditation. When that also resolves, then it becomes Nirvikalpa. When the subject-object difference, which is well pronounced in Savikalpa Samadhi, that difference also, if it is resolved, the object is resolved into subject, then there is no subject-object difference. What is there is only pure you. That is called Nirvikalpaka Samadhi. So Nirvikalpa Samadhi is what? That is also a waking state only. It's a state of meditation where You alone is there. There are no objects. There is no object of meditation, and there are no objects for you to do vyavahara. So in that state also, kinchit nyatvam not there. There is no notion of limited knowledge. Therefore, samadhi dasha sampannaha, one samadhi dasha sampannam shuddham chaitanyam, tampada vachyartaha iti. The one who is free from the limitations of upadhi, either the state of meditation or in the sushupti avastha, where upadhi is not there, that sense of limitation is not there. Then what is there? Shuddham chaitanyam alone is there. That is myself, Atma. So, therefore, Shuddhaha, free from Upadhi. Upadhis are variable, Chaitanyam is invariable. Every object is an Upadhi, every thought is an Upadhi. When you have a flower thought, when you say flower, flower consciousness, flower is Upadhi for consciousness, to become flower consciousness. Flower is not an attribute of consciousness. Flower is not an attribute of consciousness. If that is so, what will happen? Flower will become part of every consciousness. When flower consciousness is, when you see an pot consciousness, you will have flower consciousness and pot consciousness. Both will be there. If flower consciousness is an intrinsic attribute of consciousness. If flower is an intrinsic attribute of consciousness, in every consciousness, flower consciousness will be present. But it is not. When you see a flower, flower consciousness. When you see a pot, the flower consciousness is replaced by pot consciousness. Flower consciousness goes and pot consciousness comes. And pot, again, it is not an attribute of that consciousness. The pot consciousness is replaced by tree consciousness. When you see a tree, a vriksha. And tree consciousness replaced by fruit consciousness when you see a fruit. So the object of consciousness, they come and go, variable, upadhi, but what about consciousness? Chaitanyam. Invariable. That doesn't change. Therefore, Chaitanya Atma is free from upadhi, or it is always with upadhi. It is free from upadhi. This analysis, this thinking, this vichara to be done and to be understood. In spite of knowing we are so much connected, so much addicted, so much well associated with this upadhi, it becomes inseparable. That which is variable becomes inseparable, and we lament over the variable. When the variable goes away, we lament over the variable, not understanding that it is variable. That is what Bhagavan Krishna says in the Gita. In the first shloka itself, it just puts a bomb, like a bomb shell. Ashochya nanvashochastam prajnavadam shabashase kataso na kataso sa nanashochanti panditaha. How can a pandita, a jnani, can worry about the thing which doesn't deserve to be worried? It is variable. Why do you worry about the variable? Knowing that it is variable, you want the variable to be invariable. How is it possible? That which is invariable is you. Nattevaham jatanasam nattam neme janadipaha nachayvana bhavishyamaha sarve vaimatah param. You are there always, I am also always there. Shuddham Chaitanyam as always it is there. It is invariable. What comes and goes? Upadhi. Variable. Don't lament over the variable. That is what Bhagavan Krishna, in the beginning itself, he said the Upadesha. The Upadesha, the first shloka itself, the 11th shloka of the second chapter itself, in one shloka itself, Bhagavan Krishna unfolds the truth. That which is variable continues to vary, over which you don't have any control, and therefore there is no pointing in worrying about it. Allow the variable to vary. That's a fact. You cannot overrule the fact. That is how it is. Satyam. At the same time, you are invariable. That is also another fact. So don't mix up the invariable with the variable. And they cannot mix. Really, they cannot mix. How can the invariable be associated, be mixed with the variable? Impossible. That is not possible. But that is made possible by you. That is why it is Maya. That which is not possible is made possible, and that to be clearly unfolded. That is the job of the Shastram, and that is the job of the Guru. That is why the teaching is involved. So we are trying to solve the problem that doesn't exist. The variable cannot have association with the invariable, but we associate. Where is a problem? There is no problem. But we think there is a problem. Therefore, what we are trying is to resolve the problem that really doesn't exist. The Shishya comes to the teacher with the problem. The teacher sees that there is no problem. But for the Shishya, the problem is real. So the teacher should not dismiss the Shishya saying that there is no problem. He has to go along with the Shishya as though the problem is real, slowly making the Shishya see that there is no problem. The beginning itself, if you say there is no problem, then Shishya will go. After that, he will never come. So you have to put yourself in the shoes of the Shishya and see as though there is a problem. Go along with the Shishya, then slowly bring the Shishya to the Shastram, to the teaching of the Shastram, making him see that there is no problem. So we are saying samsara is problem, but where is samsara? Atma cannot have samsara. Atma cannot have samsara. Let samsara be there. So what? I am not touched by samsara. I continue to be as I was, as I am. I am going to continue. As I will, the same, going to continue. There is no change possible for me because I am Shuddham Chaitanyam. All these are Upadhi over which nobody has control. They come and go. They come and go. Therefore, variable. So, what Arjuna laments in the first chapter, the object of lamentation is variable. Arjuna laments for the objects. Objects means not only object, it means persons. They laments for that which are variable. Variable varies. That's why it's called variable. Over which nobody has control. Even Bhagavan cannot do anything because it is variable. That is how it is. The statement of fact, mithya. And you are invariable, Shuddham Chaitanyam. Note that. Knowing that, then the relationship with the variable, the association with the variable becomes a leela. And that Bhagavan Krishna able to enjoy in the battlefield because he has this jnanam, aveda jnanam, advaita jnanam. Therefore, jiveshwarayoho abhedaha. Therefore, it is very clear if you take the lakshyartha, between jiva and Ishvara, there is clear non-difference. Chaitanya rupena abhedaha. Upadi drishtya bhedaha. Chaitanya drishtya abhedaha. There is no difference with regard to Jiva and Ishvara because they being Chaitanyam, they are not two Chaitanyam. Jiva is Chaitanyam, Ishvara is Chaitanyam. The Mahavakyam Tat Tvamasi, Tvam Pada Lakshyartha is Chaitanyam, Tat Pada Lakshyartha also Chaitanyam. Therefore, Abhedaha, Chaitanya Rupena. Therefore, there is Aikyam, oneness between Jiva and Ishvara. When you understand the Mahavakyam by doing vichara like this, then there is no possibility of negating the non-difference. Badaka abhavaha. Chaitanya rupena abhede. Badaka abhavaha. Absence of the negation of non-difference. It means what? Badaka abhavaha. It means absence of negation. Negation of what? Negation of abheda. Negation of non-difference. Absence of the negation of non-difference. What does it mean? It means the differences cannot be proved. Guru says, you say, Guru says to the Shishya, you say there is difference. Can you prove the difference from the Lakshyartha? You cannot prove. Differences cannot be proved. Therefore, abhede badaka abhavaha. From the standpoint of Chaitanyam, there is abheda, there is aikyam between Jiva and Ishvara. Therefore, badaka abhavaha. Absence of any factor or reason that can negate the difference, the identity, that can negate the identity, the oneness, the aikyam between Jiva and Ishvara. So, badaka abhavaha. When you mistake a rope for a snake, then in the wake of rope knowledge, what happened to the snake? The snake knowledge is negated. Rope knowledge, Rajjujnanam. When you see a rope, Rajjujnanam, Rajjuvritti. Rajjuvritti, when you gain the knowledge of rope, Rajjujnanam, when Rajjuvritti happens, it negates what? It negates the Sarpajnanam. So Rajjujnanam is Badaka. In the wake of knowledge, what knowledge? Rajjujnanam, rope knowledge, snake knowledge goes away. What is Bhadita? Snake is Bhadita. Snake knowledge is negated. Bhadaka is Rajjujnanam. Bhadita is Sarpajnanam. Sarpa not there. When did you get that knowledge? When you are awake to rope knowledge, then you understood that there is no snake. So snake knowledge is Bhaditam. And who is the Bhadaka? What is the Bhadaka? Rajjujnanam. So, therefore, Bhadaka, Bhadita. So here, Abheda Jnanam, which is the Bhadaka, and what is Bhaditam? Veda Jnanam, Bhaditam. So, Mahavakyam, if you take the Lakshyartha in the Mahavakyam, this Upadhi differences are Bhadita, and what is the Bhadaka? Thus, Chaitanya Aikyam, Chaitanya Drishtya, that Aikyam is a Bhadaka that negates the Ajnanam, which is because of this Upadhi, because of the association with the Upadhi. So, Bhadaka Bhadita, you understand the words, Bhadaka Bhadita. So, Abheda Jnanam is the Bhadaka, negated. What is negated? Dvaita Jnanam, the Veda Jnanam is negated. Sometimes what you negate may not go. In the case of this rope snake example, snake goes away in the wake of rope knowledge. Therefore, rope is Bhadaka, snake is Bhadita. Bhadita means negated. Bhadaka is that which negates. Negator, negated. Bhadaka is negator. Bhadita is negated. Snake negated. Who is the negator of the snake knowledge? This Rajjujnana, rope knowledge, is the Bhadaka. Sometimes what you negate may not go. Like what? Like the sun rises in the east. In the beginning, everybody were thinking sun rises in the east, sun moves, and it sets in the west. Later, when science grew, then we understood that sun never rises and sets. The sun never rises and sets, being where it is a movement of the earth. It is movement of the earth which makes the sun as though which makes the sun appear as though rise in the east and sets in the west. Now, the knowledge is there. What knowledge? The sun never rises, the sun never sets. That knowledge is there, Bhadaka Jnanam. But because of Jnanam, is the sun stops rising in the east and stops setting the west? No, that is not Bhadita. It continues to be there, but you have the knowledge. You continue to see the rays of the sun in the eastern sky every morning when you get up. You perceive the same thing, but you know the sun doesn't rise. Doesn't rise, doesn't set. So what happens to the now, this Bhadaka Jnanam? Bhadaka Jnanam removes the wrong knowledge. Wrong knowledge that sun rises and sets. That is Bhadita. But it doesn't have impact on your perception. Perception seems to be the same. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. You see it, but you know it is not true. So that is Bhadita. The wrong knowledge is Bhadita. Because you see now, you don't go with that. You understand very well that it doesn't rise, it doesn't set. Then what is Bhadita? You see, they understand the example between the rope snake example and this example. The rope snake, what is Bhadita? Snake is Bhadita. Snake goes away. But here, even though your previous conclusions were wrong and it is Bhadita, that doesn't create any change in your visual perception. But you know, you have the knowledge. You have the knowledge that sun being where it is, doesn't rise, doesn't set. So knowledge is there. Knowledge doesn't change your perception. This is another drishtanta. You can see. Not that always the knowledge negates, the right knowledge negates wrong knowledge, and therefore you will have the perception of it, of that. It is not like that. That is for that only I give the two different drishtanta examples. You can take even the blue sky. The color of the sky is colorless. Sky is colorless. It appears blue because of the dispersion of light. He says, Sir C.V. Raman's effect. The color of the sky is blue. That is Bhadita. When you have the knowledge, the scattering of light knowledge, what Sir C.V. Raman discovered, you understand the sky is colorless. So you have got the Jnanam, Bhadaka Jnanam. So what is Bhadita? The knowledge, the wrong knowledge that the color of the sky is blue is Bhadita. But the sky continues to be blue only, appears to be blue only. So, but even though you see it as a blue, but it is Bhadita. Similarly also a Jnani, when he is awake to this Abheda Jnanam, that Abheda Jnanam does the Badana of this Veda Jnanam, this samsara, it doesn't mean the samsara physically goes away. It means samsara being what it is. All the vyavahara, everything is there. But Jnani knows very well, I am not involved in samsara. I am not touched by samsara. This is something important to be understood. People have this notion that a Jnani always sits in deep meditation, never opens his eye, never conducts himself in Vyavahara. Because Vyavahara, when he gets into Vyavahara, then it becomes samsara. It is not like that. Jnani knows very well this is Nitya. By his Jnanam, this is Bhadita, like the blue sky or like the sun rising and setting. It is Bhadita. He has got that Jnanam, Bhadaka Jnanam. He enjoys that Jnanam. Therefore, this rising and setting or the blueness of the sky doesn't change the knowledge of the person. Similarly, the Jnanam of the Jnani, this Advaita Jnanam, Abheda Jnanam of the Jnani, that is not touched by anything happening around him. Because it is Mithya. So this Drishtanta you can understand. Therefore, a Jnani, wherever he is continues to be in Jnanam only. Whatever the Chetana you see, that is not really done by the Jnani. That is Mithya. That's why we say Jnani, even though he seems to be doing karma, he knows that Aham Akarta Abhokta Atma. That's why kartrutvam, only when kartrutvam is there, then only karma pala will come. Jnani does karma, but karma pala doesn't come. Why? Because he doesn't have kartrutvam. Why he doesn't have kartrutvam? Because he has got abheda jnanam. How Atma can do karma? How can Atma enjoy karakatvam? Therefore, these are all badita for jnani. By what? By badaka jnanam, abheda jnanam. Therefore, Chaitanya Rupena Abhede Padaka Abhavaha. Therefore, the oneness between Jiva and Ishvara cannot be dismissed. Jiva has got Alpagyatvam, Alpashaktimatvam, Alpavyaptimatvam, etc. These are the attributes, dharma of the Jiva, which is Mithya Dharma. Similarly, Ishvara has got Sarvagyatvam, Sarvashaktimatvam, Sarvavyaptimatvam. These are all the dharma, the attributes of Ishvara. So, observing the dharma, the attributes, don't question the abheda of Jiva and Ishvara. This is what the teacher says here. So, therefore, consciousness, Atma, is free from upadhi dharma. It doesn't partake any of the dharma of the upadhi. Therefore, when you say, I am mortal, I am limited, I am insecure, I am unhappy, that your conclusion about yourself is opposed to what the reality is, what the truth is. That is consciousness. So, Atma, being what it is, it cannot be insecure, it cannot be unhappy, it cannot be limited. That is the truth of you. And when you say mortal, limited, insecure, unhappy, all these are upadhi dharma. They should be bhadita. By what? By being awake to the knowledge, self-knowledge, self-consciousness. So, even this vritti, I am limited, I am insecure, these vrittis are also illumined by consciousness. Consciousness, Atma will not oppose, saying that you are not this, don't fight with that. It will not say. Because why? Because those are also vrittis and they are illumined by the Atma. Atma can never be touched by all these vrittis. Whatever vrittis are upadhi. Whatever comes, it illumines. It bhati, it shines and it illumines. Make it appear for you. But you have to be alert. That is why alertness is important. Being alert, don't be carried away by your thoughts. Thoughts are upadhi. If you are alert to upadhi, then you forget the swarupa of yourself. When you are alert to your swarupa, then upadhi becomes badita. So therefore, this jnana vritti, the jnana vritti has to be constantly brought in, deliberately brought in. That is what it is done in Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. Repeated Shravanam, you bring in this jnana vritti. So by jnana vrittya, this ajnana vritti, vrittehe badaha bhavati. So therefore, Jiveshwara yogo aikyam chaitanya rupena abhedaha eva asti. That is satyam, that is the truth. Tena, that abhede sati tasya badaka abhavaha iti. Acharya says. Then the next line that we will see. We'll see that in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanta Shanta Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद धन्यवाद।